Hi, I'm Cash, and hopefully I'll fix my webcam. Oh my goodness, problems with my streaming software that I always think I've fixed and I never quite do. Couldn't do last week's because my sound settings were completely messed up, and now I've completely messed up my camera settings, and it looks like I'm finally live. Oh my goodness. I do blame Jamesy for chatting with me in the chat. Because if I wasn't chatting with him in the chat, I probably would have been fixing everything and making sure everything is okay. Yeah, that's kind of messed up. Oh, we lost all of our conversations, Jamesy. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, it's your fault. Talking about the FA Cup and whether or not Wolves are going to beat Manchester United and everything else that's going on today. Yeah, definitely my fault though. Definitely my fault. Not understanding where bloody Windows. It's every time I do something on Windows, I have to end up going back into all of my Windows settings, and I don't know why it does this, and takes it off all of my software that I'm using. Absolutely insane. But yep, that's what happened. Now, just wait for a second to see if it manages to get back here in the chat. Yeah, absolute nightmare. I understand why people employ people to do their things for them for YouTube and everything else, because quite frankly, there's just too much going on and I forget things all the time. Well, there's a lot I want to talk about today. I mean, there's an awful lot. I am going to go over a bit of a rant. I was going to do a full video on why there's no such thing as a double pivot in football, and the amount of morons that they're in the world that think that this is a thing, and I'm going to explain to them that they're stupid. And there's a little football team out there, Donkey FC, or Dorky F. I don't know, Donkey. I'm going to talk a little bit about their manager and some of the things going on there. And it's going to be interesting because what I'm going to say about that little football team in the non-league, doing quite well actually, will directly correlate into what's going on in the media with Mo Salah, Jamie Carragher, Arne Slot, and everybody else that's had this happen to them as a manager. So, you know me, it's very difficult. First off, my first reaction is like always raw, because that's me. But then you have to dial it back a little bit and have a little bit of a think about what destruction you can cause. And I'm going to explain that a little bit better than I am right now about how destructive you can be in football. And it's laying seeds of doubt. I saw it with the Arsenal community. I was talking about them about 2-3 weeks ago, and all of the stuff. Hello, mate. The Wolves game. Oh, right. Yeah, sorry, I completely lost our chat. Like everything messed up when I fixed. As soon as I put the camera settings in, fixed that, then it just took out all the stream settings. It's just like, oh, thank you, you rubbish piece of software. There's got to be something better than OBS. There really does. Or am I just using it completely wrong, which is more than likely. Yeah, there's so much going on. I actually am almost thinking of going live twice a week, because a lot of the comments and a lot of the things I wanted to talk about sort of early week are completely irrelevant by the end of the week, and it's almost like doing one on Monday and maybe on a Thursday, just because there's so much that's going on in football, especially with the World Cup. I think that's very important to talk about. It was interesting in the last World Cup. I'm going to find this clip. It's on ESPN. It's Gab Marcotti, and he's a journalist. And the problem with these football journalists is they've got no idea what sports is about, because they've never played sports. A couple of them have. There's actually one French guy that I quite like. He's actually, wanted to be a footballer, loves football, and he's pretty decent journalist. But this journalist blatantly said, and was screaming at the fans, like, the World Cup's not for you. It's for us. It's not for you. He was doing this live on ESPN, explaining that the working man can't take 2 weeks off. He can't afford the tickets. The World Cup's not for him. I'm like, yeah, it is. That's what football's for working man. That's the whole point of football. And we are noticing, let's be fair, that we're slowly getting kicked and driven out of the game at all levels. Well, not necessarily down to the Championship and below. Talking about the upper echelons, the World Cups, with the ticket pricing and the way that they're making you buy tickets for the entire World Cup, even if England aren't going to be there, and then you have to pay them money. It's a reallocation fee to get your money back. So you buy all your tickets, for England, and then if England don't go through and qualify to the final, you can get your money back on those tickets, but you have to pay all the money up front. But you have to pay money to make sure you get your money back for the game that you're not going to. It's madness. It's madness what they're doing. Utter madness. So I'm going to say the double pivot rant because I'm going to go on to that in a little bit. And I really want to talk about, because I think this Mo Salah stuff is prevalent. And it's going to go back into that Dorking FC. I'm going to have to ask how to pronounce it properly, because I know I'm saying it wrong, and I'm just going to end up keep calling it Donkey FC if I'm not careful. And it's super important, because I saw Jamie Carragher wrote an article saying Slot's got 3 games left to save his career. And this is the mismanagement of an ex-Liverpool player. Now, previously, before him, it was Gary Neville was constantly doing. Gary Neville's been doing this for 10 years. Gary Neville's been getting managers fired at Manchester United for 10 years, whether he understands it or not. Those seeds of doubt are very important. And they don't have to be right. They can just chat nonsense, and eventually it sticks on the wall. And when you've got so many people chatting nonsense about a manager, imagine if someone was talking nonsense about a non-league club or a non-league manager, and all of a sudden all the players of that non-league club start doubting the manager. Well, they shouldn't, but they will if there's enough media and enough people talking about it. All of a sudden they're going, oh, yeah, maybe that guy said something that's actually a bit right, and the manager doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe that's a bit right, and they start, and they won't openly say it, but it's in their mind. The seed of doubt has been planted in their mind, and all of a sudden, all of the good things that were happening completely get destroyed because some negativity's crept in ever so slowly. Little seed of doubt. Oh yeah, he did that, and that's why that was wrong. Oh, you don't even have to be right. You just have to put the seed of doubt in there. And all of a sudden, it ripples and ripples and ripples because it's football. And it will just tear your team apart before you know it. And that's what's happened at Man United. That's what's happening at Liverpool. When you're an ex-pro, the smartest thing you can ever do is never comment on your club, because it comes from another sort of position. Like if Jamie Carragher was, if Gary Neville had come out and said Arnie Slot has got 3 games left to prove, no one would have cared. Everyone would have gone, so what? Gary Neville, no one cares. All right, move on. But because it's an ex-Liverpool player, it matters. So that's like what every single time Gary Neville has had an opinion, or Roy Keane has an opinion, and it's a big opinion about Man United, it has an effect on the manager, it has an effect on all of the players. And it doesn't mean you can't criticise him. It means you just want to not criticise that team, because there's a whole bunch of other teams for you to talk about. There's so many other teams for you to talk about. You don't necessarily have to keep talking about the one you used to play for. And they won't understand that. And that is one of those destructive things that happen in the media all of the time. And you can see it going on and on. And actually, Mo Salah has done Arnie Slot a massive, massive favour. And buddy, how are you? Mo Salah, I think, has done Arnie Slot a favour by basically throwing himself under the bus and saying the stuff that he said. Because in football, sorry to say, Mo Salah, you're only as good as your last game. Yeah, you get some leeway, and that's why I think they've stuck with you since the start of the season, because it's probably one of the worst starts of the season he's ever had. Ever. Oh, don't worry, you're not late. I started the live stream without my camera, had to shut the stream down and restart it. So don't worry. You're not late at all. I'm definitely not drinking Coke. I'm definitely not doing it, boys. Got that for the missus at lunch today. She didn't. I think she forgot to take it. Well, I'm hoping she did, and now it's mine. Yeah, so this whole thing with Mo Salah being basically a baby because he's getting paid a fortune to earn his spot. He's had the respect. That's why he's been playing since the start of the season on this awful run he's been on. He has to earn his place on the team, just like every other player. Now, there is the one thing that like he doesn't realise. He's been very privileged because he scores tons of goals and assists tons of goals. His work rate's terrible. If he wasn't banging goals in, he would have been benched years ago. He's not productive enough defensively. He doesn't cover for the right back a lot. Trent took a lot of his criticism because Trent was always on his own back there defending. And Mo Salah rarely ever did. If you take it to the other side, that kiddie that they got rid of, Luis Diaz, sorry, he wanted to leave, they didn't get rid of him. He was always back helping Andy Robinson defending. He was always, back defending. So Mo Salah coming out and saying, "Oh, it's not fair because I have to earn my place like every other player and every other person that has a job in their life has to earn their place." It's like, imagine being you're a car salesman and you go in and you go, "Yeah, I know I've not sold any cars. I've not sort of scored a goal for 4 months. I've not sold a single car, but can you still pay me my commission that I normally get?" "Yeah, but you haven't sold any cars for 4 months." Yeah, I know, but I've earned the right because I've sold you cars previously." Yeah, but you haven't sold a single car. I can't pay you commission. It's insane. It's insane, the entitlement of some of these footballers. And honestly, I thought Mo Salah was one of the good ones. I thought he wasn't that way. But I have a sneaky suspicion because, bearing in mind, think about it this way. If you're Mo Salah, sorry, his agent, Mo Salah's not a mouthy person. He's not one of those ones that come out and has takes and opinions. He already knows he's leaving Liverpool. He already knows that he's got somewhere to go and he's going in January. You know that. I know that. Anyone with a bit of intelligence knows that, because he wouldn't come out and say something like that because it can't be fixed. He knows that. Now, here's the other interesting part. If this was Manchester United, what they would do is fire Slot and keep Mo Salah. That's what they've been doing with all of their players. You know, when the player comes out and has a tantrum, they haven't done it with this new kiddie, Ruben Amorim, but all the other managers, they would have backed the player and fired the coach. That's not what you do, ever. Oh, yeah, sell Salah, 100% sell Salah, 100%. He's got to go. Like, he just has to. You can't say those things and then expect there's going to be any sort of way back into it. You just can't. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that in football. Like, it doesn't work like that in anything. Imagine you going into your job tomorrow and telling the manager, "Oh yeah, I know I haven't done my job properly for 4 months, but can you pay me a bonus?" Like, no. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. Oh, there was a comment. I can't remember who this was from, but I did paste it down. But basically, I don't think Slot will be there by the end of the year anyway as well. I think the comment's right. He's lost the Anfield crowd. And when you lose the Anfield crowd, you are pretty much done. He doesn't sort of have the passion as Klopp did. 100% he won't be there for next season. 100% agree on that. And I also agree with the other commenter on one of my videos. You guys will probably know who said this as well. He can't drop Van Dijk, by the way. But Gakpo to me is awful. And he's not dropping Gakpo because he's Dutch. Chiesa's been playing brilliant every time he's come on this season. Chiesa would be on that starting lineup every single time. Not Gakpo. Like, he has to drop Gakpo, but he's not, because it's a World Cup year and he plays for Holland, so he's not going to do it. That's dodgy to me as well. Really dodgy. Really, really dodgy. Yeah, that's my point. Salah rarely talks in the media. He knows he's done. He knows he's going. Like, he wouldn't have said that if he didn't. As his last little dig, and trying to throw a bit of shade at Arne Slot, which, by the way, he's entitled to be an idiot. He's entitled to say what he wants. There's just ramifications when you're in that privileged position when you say something stupid. Yeah, Dutch nepotism. That's it. Yeah, that's the comment. Chiesa should be started. If you remember, I think it was like third video in, I think I did, when Isak started playing for Liverpool. And I said they're not going to win unless they have Chiesa and Ekitike up front, because they've got too many players that stand around. Mo Salah doesn't work back and defend. Gakpo doesn't work back and defend. Isaac doesn't work back and defend. Last year, they had Darwin Núñez, who's going to be... He might be in goal. You don't know. Darwin Núñez is going to be running around, kicking, he wants the football. He was always running around. Luis Diaz was always running around. And I know he's gone, but Diego Jota, another one, always running around. These front three don't at all. Yeah, Chiesa works. It's all about work rate. If you're not running, you're not working, and you're not hustling, you're not playing football. It's just, yeah. Okay, do you want to go on a bit of a rant before I miss out? Because, there's no such thing as a double pivot in football. Right? Is this my drawery tool? Where's my drawery tool? Is this my drawery tool? Oh, there's my drawery tool. I'm going to invent today a new system. Okay? And we're going to find out in the next Slobosite. Yeah, he's been great. Yeah, he's been great. He's been absolutely brilliant this season, Slobosite. I'm going to invent a new system And I'm going to explain to you from this new system of how dumb saying a double pivot is, and how bad people are that are repeating it because they don't have the intellectual capacity to understand. Just because you learn about it on the A license, it doesn't mean it's real and it's a thing that you should put into football. Just like all I talk about the entire youth structure in youth academies is completely and utterly wrong, teaching small-sided games. That's why we don't have any good footballers anymore. We don't have strikers anymore. Why? Because they don't teach that, because it's all small-sided, ticky-tacky nonsense. It's all terrible. But let me show you how dumb football coaches are and people in football. Right, what we're going to do today, we're going to come up with a new system. We're going to call it the inverted sweeper. Okay, so let's just get our little drawy tool. So what we're going to do, this is our centre back right like this, right? What we used to do is have a sweeper down here, and he used to screen behind the defenders. Hold on, that's good. So that the left and the right back could go forward, and he could screen him. But we're going to invert him. What we're going to do is we're going to move him from there, and we're going to stick him there. In front of the back four. Now, instead of screening their mistakes, he can screen the danger. We're going to call it an inverted sweeper. It's not a defensive midfielder, even though it plays the exact same way as a defensive midfielder, does the same job as a defensive midfielder. We've invented a new position. We've called him the inverted sweeper. Yeah, that's what they're saying with a double pivot. It's the same utter nonsense. Having a double pivot is having two defensive midfielders that move the ball forward. Yeah, so you keep a box, or if you've got three defenders, by the way, even then these aren't really two defensive midfielders because you're playing with a different system in that sense. You're playing with a box back four, holding the middle of the field with a transition moving on, like completely different. But that's how dumb it is saying that you're playing with a double pivot. Because remember, the point of the pivot is to transition the ball, move it forward, and always show to the left and the right back. So you're receiving the ball and you're turning and you're trying to play it forward, trying to go through. Now, let me explain it another way in coaching terms, and you can make your own opinion up. So if you're doing a coaching call, a halftime talk, or at the beginning of the game, there's two ways of talking. I'm going to give you the double pivot morons and the actual way you should talk as a football coach. Okay, today we're playing with our back three and we're having you two in the double pivot. Okay. What does that mean? Is my job to rotate and pivot the ball forward? Oh, no, you know. Right, okay. Or, okay, we're playing with a back three and you two are two defensive midfielders. Oh, okay. Well, you understand what I mean by a defensive midfielder. But because when you say a double pivot, that is so broad and so full of nonsense, you can, as a player, you can go, no, coach, I was transitioning and moving the ball forward. Yeah, but you're supposed to be defending. Yeah, but I'm a pivot. I don't defend. I pivot the ball. I was trying to get the ball so I could pivot it to the other left or back, right back. You mess up everything by trying to make things more complicated and sound smarter than you are. And you go, oh yeah, it's okay because they understand. No, they're football players. The minute they make a mistake, they're not going to take the blame. They're going to blame the manager and say, your message wasn't clear. You said I was doing this job and I thought I was doing that job. So I was over here doing that, which I thought was right. So I'm not in trouble. I did the right thing. You just didn't tell me to do. And that's why you do not put yourself in that situation as a coach or a manager. You make it. You're the two defensive midfielders. When one of you can get the opportunity to move forward, maybe you do, maybe you don't. You keep and you rotate the ball and you pass it. That's what you do. When you start adding in terminology that's nonsense, you open up utter nonsense. And this thing that like people understand. No, people don't understand. As again, if I said, if you wrote down what you think a number 8's roles and responsibilities are and what a number 6's roles and responsibilities are, and then we got 100 other people to do it, they would all be different. You'd all think a 6 is different. Some people would believe it's Pirlo. Some people would believe it's Dunga. Like some people, like it's all different. So you have to make it clear if you're in the role of the coach or the manager, if this is your job, you're a defensive midfielder. Yeah, you can move forward, but don't go past the ball. Don't run, past the ball to look for passes in the front line. Don't try to penetrate the 18-yard box. You just hold in front of the back four, and that's what you do. Yeah. All this nonsense about double pivot. First off, it's mathematically and physically impossible to pivot around 2 points. You need 1 point for a pivot. It's the point of a pivot. Yeah. Oh, who scored? Oh, you've got to tell me who scored. Do I have to look it up? I want to see who scored. Oh my goodness. How can I not even click on the right website? Oh no, Rat Boy did score. No. Oh. If you notice as well on all my thumbnails with Bruno Fernandes, there's always a little rat on his shoulder. I think that's funny. What's the other thing I wanted to talk about? I was a Rat Boy goal. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. I was reading too quick. I didn't see it. Oh, one of the other things I think that no one's really talking about as well is this. This to me is the death of football. It's slowly going under the radar, and they're not actually talking about it. And it's this independent regulator is going to kill football. Like it's already happened, and no one's fighting it. So think about this as a because I still believe that all of this is put in place, so they'll just stop playing in the football league, and they'll just go and play in the Super League. Because now, not only do you have the Premier League rules to answer to, the FA's rules to answer to, FIFA's rules, UEFA's rules, you also have this new regulating governing body from the government of the United Kingdom. This basically is going to be in total control of English football for the first time. They're going to license club owners. Bearing in mind, I still think they stole Roman Abramovich's club. And I don't care about the political leanings of which murderer is worse in war, the murderer that invaded or the murderer that's defending or whatever murdering they're talking about. Couldn't care less. Nothing to do with Chelsea. And when they still haven't given him his billions. And the reason, I think I read something, the reason they haven't given him his billions is because he only wanted all of those billions for the refugees or something for the war on both sides of the war. It has to be Russia and Ukraine, which is fair. That's a great anti-war stance. I don't support either of you morons fighting. I'm just going to say, put my billions on either side. Now, they're refusing to let that money go. I won't be surprised if that money's been stolen already from people in the football, whatever it is, or agents or whatever, how it works. Now, think about what they did to Roman Abramovich, forcing him to sell and not paying him the money. Now the UK government's involved and they're going to license owners, because of course you need a license, because everything needs a license. Yeah, it's insane. They stole Chelsea. Oh, I don't disagree. Don't disagree that he stole the Russian oil economy. I don't disagree. But also, just because they've done it wrong, it doesn't mean we do it wrong too. We hold ourselves to higher moral standards than them. If they wanted to let him get away with that, that's on them. We won't. We're not going to steal someone else's property just because, that's not the way to do it. And the problem with it is when now the government is involved in regulating football, I can see them stealing somebody else's football club. They've already done it with Chelsea. They're going to say this owner, he could be at Nottingham Forest, and he's got charges in another country, and that doesn't meet our recommendations, guidelines that we've just created last week on a Wednesday down a pub. So now Marinakis has to sell Forest. Why? And that's what's going to happen. I promise you, in the next 3 years, the English authorities are going to steal someone's football club. It's going to happen again, and everyone will just go ooh and do nothing. But what will happen is people will stop trying to put money into the Premier League. Speaking about people putting money into the Premier League, Sky Sports has just announced that they're expanding their nonsense, aren't they, for an extra 200 games a season. What? We can actually watch some of the proper games on Sky Sports instead of having BT Sports, TNT Sports, and 19 different packages, and we're still not going to buy you Sky Sports. We're still not going to get you a subscription. I don't know how anybody else feels with that. I don't trust their coverage. I don't trust their biases. And I don't trust how expensive it is in the UK to watch the games compared to how cheap it is everywhere else in the world. Now, I think that's a bid from Sky. It's the last sort of, bit of the death rattle, because they're losing so many subscribers. It's a way of them trying to claw those subscribers back by saying, look, you can watch more games now. Yeah, but you're going to charge us more money, and you're already overcharging us in the first place. So It's going to be a bit weird there. I think that is going to be very, very messy. Now, with this government regulation, though, there's so many things. Like they're going to say they're going to block dodgy, backroom takeovers. What? This isn't the 1980s anymore. It's 2025. They couldn't block a dodgy backroom takeover because they'd never see it coming. I mean, some of the stuff that they... And here's the other problem. In the same breath, they're going to say that they're going to mandate, enforce ticket prices. What else have they got here? I've got stadium moves. Like, what? First off, I'm dead against stadium moves. I'm really dead against all those sort of stadium moves and stuff like that. But now you're having government enforced stadium moves. And why this is important is because the reason that they move and change governments, stadiums, is for money. Oh yeah, I think it's a 40% reduction in Sky subscribers, and actually I think it's more than that. I think if you go over for the last sort of 5-year trend, I think it's like 60%. I think they're in real trouble. So I think they're using this to try to get their viewer base back. That's what I think they're trying to do. But there's something else going on there. What was my rant? Sorry. What was I talking about? Oh, ticket prices. Oh yeah, stadiums. Right. So with revenues, one of the other reasons this is so important is because if they're putting caps on the revenue that you can spend, right? Now they're telling you can't change and move your stadium. What have they just said? The rich clubs are forever going to stay rich and the poor clubs are forever going to stay poor. Because you can't spend more than 85% of what you make or what you get in or whatever. You can't do any more creative accounting. That's all gone. PSR, that's all gone. Now it's this new governing rule. I can't remember the name. Let me just pull it up here on my notes. It's SCR, whatever SCR is going to mean. It's going to be a whole load of other nonsense. Because even if Man City break the rules, they're never going to be enforced, are they? They're not going to actually sort of hold Manchester City accountable, or anybody accountable. So this whole new governance in the UK is just to keep the big clubs big and the small clubs small. It's shocking. I think it's absolutely awful. Like if you really wanted proper football change, just put a wage cap. Just so you can only get paid this amount a week. That's it. Done. Foof. Fixed, right? It's the only. If you just said this is you can't pay Mo Salah 400 grand a week, the most you can ever pay him is 100 grand a week. Everything's fixed. Clubs aren't going bankrupt at 100 grand a week. No, none of them. Done. Everything's fixed. Boom. What? They wouldn't do that though, because that's not fair. And I do hear I've never actually looked into this, so I don't take this as fact. But it won't surprise me. 80 to 85% of all of the wealth that comes into football gets pulled out by the players' wages in a football club. That would not surprise me, by the way, especially when you see what some of these people are on. There was a rumour that Mbappe was on $1 million a week. Wouldn't surprise me, though. Wouldn't surprise me. And remember, when I say $1 million a week, everyone just thinks, Real Madrid are not paying him $1 million a week. Yeah, but it doesn't work like that. You've got the Adidas sponsorship, the image rights sponsorship, you've got the commercial sponsorship from the TV revenue, then you've got the Real Madrid wages on top. That's a package that the club would have put together for him. Yeah, it's player wages killing football. There's no government agency that's going to regulate that. It's that simple. And when there's not a football club in history that's gone bankrupt because they've got their players aren't earning minimum wage. Just put all players on minimum wage. See how many, see what happens then. Yeah, it would be absolutely ridiculous. But one of the other things as well is you won't see any. There's not going to be any more big spending because they won't be able to. They can't afford it, and they'll pretty much be an end to big power moves and big takeovers. To me, it's just the death of football. Now, the other problem you've got about it is what about when the Premier League rules are completely different from the governing body rules, the government rules? Then what are you going to do? Then who do you answer to? Because it happens all the time. The Premier League rules are different than the UEFA rules. So who do you answer to then? It's all over the place. It is all over the place. I think it's going to be a right old mess. Oh my goodness. Why do I not have the score up? Oh, is it still 1-0? I do think Man United will win that now. I do think they're good enough to beat Wolves, because Wolves just don't score enough goals. There's not enough goal threat. And that's one of the other things I did want to talk about. And it does go back to the 10-year talent cycle, and what's really happening with football is that there's no strikers left anymore. Have you noticed that? There used to be an abundance of strikers. Like, every team had a decent striker. Always. Don't matter, you had the world-class strikers, but then you always had like all these random half-decent strikers that were fighting for England spots, like the Jermaine Defoes, Kevin Phillips. There was loads in the bottom, of the table that always good for a couple of goals. And it just seems to me that strikers have just been phased out of football. They're just gone. Yeah, you got Haaland. Yeah, you might have Harry Kane, but who's the new Harry Kane? There isn't anyone replacing these players. There isn't this wave of strikers that you could always rely on another new striker coming up through. It just doesn't happen anymore. I know why. I need to go on a huge rant about it. I just wanted to bring that up. Oh, does anyone else think that the Gunners have completely bottled it? I think they might have. I don't know. I'll wait until see after Christmas. Their loss against Villa, I think, psychologically for the Gunners, and this is where I talk about toxic fan bases again, because the seeds of doubt now have been implanted in all of those Arsenal players that we're going to bottle it again, and it just keeps flowing and flowing and flowing. The runners are there, mate. The runners. Yeah, they're not the Gunners. They're the runners. And I think that they're not going to win it this year. I have a feeling. See, but it's not tiki-taka, okay? So this is the thing. This is why you're by the way, you're right with the tiki-taka, but there's a reason for it. It's youth coaching has killed the game. Because I've done a lot of youth coaching. I've done a lot of different coaching. Youth coaching has totally and utterly destroyed football, in my opinion. Absolutely destroyed it. Because all these people thinking they're developing players, playing small-sided, passing out of the back, and they're not doing any of the basics of football. Kicking the ball in the goal. They don't understand that you can't go wide without depth. You've got to go long to create the width that you want. No, we'll just create the width back here on our back four. Yeah, but you can only do that by having a threat in behind. If there's no threat in behind, they can all pressure you. That's why these teams can high pressure people. It's because you don't have a threat in behind. If you had two strikers up there that you could play the ball to, they couldn't pressure you. But because they've forgotten all of this, well, they don't know any of this. It's just gone by. It's all been pushed away in the football ethos. It doesn't happen anymore. So they don't train any of that. They can't train defensive midfielders and attacking midfielder partnerships, and one sits and one attacks, and they can't coach that because they're in a small-sided game and there's not enough space for them to cover to teach it properly, and it's all gone. Yeah, I think Arteta's toxic as well. Yeah. I think he's a bit dodgy too. No, well, you can say it right. So there's lots of different things in academy, right? So in the UK, academy football, you can only have an accredited academy. Oh God, that's insane. I did a video about it. If the FA allow you to call yourself an academy. If you start a youth football club, you cannot call it an academy. Okay, even if your youth football team is better than the academy footballs. But yeah, youth and academy, same thing, by the way, exact same thing. It's the same problem. They're all trying to be Pep Guardiola, and they don't understand that their responsibility is to make good football players, not people that can play in a system. So, for instance, Manchester City Football Club, they don't make players. They make system players. That's all they do. Their academy makes players to fit into their system, and rightly so, because if they want their club to be successful, they need to do it a certain way at the youth level so they can transition and fit into their main team. That's what they do. The problem is everybody else thinks now that they're Manchester City or Barcelona, going back to the tiki-taka moment in the football, and they think that, I'm going to run it the same way. Yeah, but you're not producing them for your first team. You're not producing any of these players to go into a first team, so you've got to make them football players, and that does not happen anymore. And there's another thing that used to happen as well. Is that there's a company, the largest company of a sports agency in the world was called Traffic from Brazil. Have a guess why they're called Traffic, by the way? because they're human trafficking football players. So traffic was massive. They would put about 700 players out of Brazil every year to all different places. And that's not happening as much as it used to as well. So that's also changed the landscape. We're all asking Steph where she's from. I thought, wasn't it Connecticut or New Jersey up that way? I thought it was. So the youth level, when I'm talking about that 10-year talent cycle, that's why I'm telling you it's so important to understand what's happening in the youth system now, because that's the talent that's going to come through in 10 years into the Premier League. And you can see it. It's completely wiped the game out. What you have now is abundance of wide players that cut in and shoot, because that's what they teach at the academy level. Boston, told you it's up north. And it's it's really, really frustrating when you're watching it and you're understanding this, because you're going, well, there's no way back. You can't change all these coaches' minds and mindsets, because they still think there's such a thing called a double pivot, which, there's not. Remember to use the term inverted sweeper as defensive midfielder now. And I guarantee you we can get people saying it. There's going to be some idiot that repeats inverted sweeper. It's going to be hilarious. I think Forest could go down this year. Oh, the inverted wingers cutting into shoot. Yeah, 100%. Because here's the problem. Are they inverted wingers, or are they just crap forwards? And that all stemmed from Messi, by the way. Because are they a winger if they don't cross the ball and play like a winger? Or are they just crap forwards? We make up these rules and these things for them because they're inverted. Well, because they're cutting inside. Well, he's not a winger then, is he? Because a winger will go down, dribble a player, beat him 1v1 and deliver the ball. If he's not trying to 1v1 and deliver the ball into the box from the inside and shoot, how's he a winger? So he's just an inverted forward. We say these things in football and it becomes the lexicon, and sometimes it's just nonsense. Yeah. I think I watched a little bit of Forest. Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so Forest fans aren't going to like this. I was doing that breakdown for Forest Fan TV, and I was looking at the amount of chances that Ange Postecoglou created for Forest, and I reckon at least half those games he should have won by 2 clear goals. At least half, if you go back and look at them. Since he's gone, the amount of goal-scoring opportunities that Forest score is absolutely next to nothing. They may get 2 a game, if that. And that's worrying, because goals win games. Defensively, yeah, you're going to give up goals. But I think you're already in that situation. And as I said, the biggest problem at Forest isn't the manager. It's Edu in that director's box. He needs to go. You can't have 2 girlfriends. One's always going to quit. One's always going to get found out. You can't do it. He's got to get rid of one. Marinakis cannot have 2 people in his ear. He has to have one. He is that type of owner. He cannot have the manager and Edu. He just has to be listening to one story. And I guarantee you, by the end of the season, Dyche will probably go as well, because Marinakis will get rid of him, because Edu's brought players in. And Edu was going to say, oh, no, it's not the players that I brought in. It's definitely the manager's problem. Guarantee you. They don't play inverted wingers. No. Oh, look how good Palace are doing. Oh, you're using the wingers to cross the ball? Wow. Yeah, I think people are after your wide men, though. I honestly do. Oh, yeah. Wingers cutting in. Yeah, that's my point. But remember, he's going to say that all of those players are good. The manager's just using them wrong. You've got to remember that. That's what he's going to do. He's never going to take ownership and say, oh, no, poor recruitment. I wasted all your millions. Never going to do it. He's just going to say the manager's crap. And that is a massive problem at Forest. Massive problem. Get Edu out. Start with another plan and try to save your season. Yeah, it's going to be a rocky ride, I think. It really is. Oh, the other thing I think has gone as well in football, we're talking about lack of strikers, is there's no workhorse midfielders anymore. Well, very rarely. Every team used to have one midfielder that was always a pest, running around, working and winning the ball. We used to call them defensive midfielders, or the new lexicon is the double pivot midfielder. No, it's defensive midfielder, you muppets. And they're slowly sneaking out of the game as well. I don't know if you've noticed. Yeah, common ground, but our players were still not. They're still not doing the basics. No. Oh yeah, Arsenal's recruiting 100% better since Eddie left. Well, you've got to remember though, as a player, unless you know what's happening, so when you've got stability as a player, you know what's going on, you can focus and get down and do your job. If there have been so many chops and changes, Nuno's left, Poch has come in, Poch has left, Dice is in. You've had 3 managers in a couple of months. New players have come in. No one knows. No one's sold. Elanga's gone. Elanga's a massive, massive loss for Forest. If you're replacing someone, that's who they should have been replacing. And you've got to really understand. Oh yeah. There's so many that's been so much stuff that's been phased out. And again, it comes through the youth academies or the youth levels and the coaching, because they're all done their A licenses and they think they're good coaches, and they're not. They're absolutely not, because the fruits of their labour are coming through and you can see it. And the quality. Oh, this was one of the big points I wanted to raise as well. Because if you look at the Premier League table and you look at how close, I think, what is it, from 3rd down to 15th, and how close all of those teams are, it shows you how poor the Premier League actually is. Okay? People will say, oh no, it's competitive. No, it's poor. Oh no, the Wolves score a goal. Where's DC? DC, he's left the chat. I guarantee he's left the chat. Is he here? Come on, D. Where are you? You know he's watching the game. He might have us on the background, but he's definitely just watching the game. So there's also this other huge impact on football that nobody is talking about as well. Oh my God, 70, yeah. 47th minute. Saudi Arabia is stealing all the players. Okay. This is massively important. So because of Saudi, players like, and I guarantee you that there's going to be more, I'm just going to list off right now. It's just one more goal for you to win. You'll get another goal. With these 2 teams, you're going to get another goal. Think about this. Koulibaly is a Champions League quality centre-back. Not necessarily a team that's going to win the Champions League, but he can play in anyone. There's a lot of those Champions League clubs that he can still play at. He's not. He's in Saudi. Sadio Mane, Champions League quality player. He's in Saudi Arabia. God, there's loads. That striker from Aston Villa that left went there. Same as Darwin Núñez has left and gone there. There's so many quality players in that Saudi league. Saudi teams will be in the get 100%. I won't be surprised if next year they're in the Super League. But this is the problem, okay? So when you've gotten rid of all of those sort of older players, the ones that would just come in, like the classic example I think would be like Willian at Fulham. He stayed at Fulham and he's playing there, and his experience from Chelsea and everywhere else that he's played, he's helping the Fulham players on the training field, on the field. He was still quite good in every other game he played. He was quite decent. All of that's left the Premier League. All of that experience has left the Premier League, or it's all gone. It's all over in Saudi. So now, not only are you losing players to go over there, when players are retiring, they're going over to the MLS, which isn't such a big draw because the money's not really there like it is in Saudi. And the amount of talent that's been sucked out the Premier League to teach the new talent, those younger players coming through, has gone. So Cole Palmer should have at least 3 players that have already been there, seen it and done it around him that he can learn off. He's not going to get it. So Chelsea is just a young bunch of puppies. They're not going to, unless they've got 4 or 5 really old veterans that have won the Champions League, gone through it, like they had Thiago Silva in their camp to help them grow, they're not going to do it. And if you want a better example of a team that's got all the talent in the world, but none of the experience to help them finish and cross the line, look no further than Arsenal. Classic example. They don't have people that have won the league, won the Champions League in their squad. And because of that, they don't know what it takes. So it's really hard for them to achieve it. Really, really hard. Oh, first goal chance to win the game. Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't think data's really changed the game. It's just more nonsense. Like there's a bigger impact in wages in Saudi Arabia changing the game than data crunching. You know, like the only thing data crunching's really done is been able to find a couple of gems in some of the different leagues, and that also comes down to poor scouting, because you've got to understand how lazy footballers are, lazy managers are, and lazy football scouts are. If they can do nothing and claim that they've done something, they will. So I don't think the data's really changed. I don't. Wolves still play. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Wolves, yeah, in play. Yeah, you do it, do it, do it. I have a feeling. Got a feeling. There's nothing from DC in the chat. Where's Dave? I can't see Dave. So I think the quality of the players leaving and not passing on their experience to the young players coming through has a bigger impact than AI data crunching, XG, and anything else, because all that was still there previously. It just wasn't put in an easy, presentable form. You kind of knew, but now you really know, if that makes sense. You kind of could guess, but now you really understand the numbers and the facts and the figures. You can really sort of nail down on it with data. I think data might come into, well, here's the problem with data. Like, it's telling people that there's more set pieces being scored in the Premier League, so everyone's concentrating on their set pieces, throwing the ball in and doing stuff like that. Data can have a really sort of negative effect on the game, but it doesn't last for very long. So it might be a 3-month or a 4-month impact when losing all of the experience and talent to Saudi Arabia, older talent to Saudi Arabia, has generational impact on football. So the data will just be a little blip, 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 but generational problems of, like, Cristiano Ronaldo could be playing, like, imagine him play, I don't know, some team in Portugal that's in the Champions League, and he still would be in the Champions League and we'd still get to see him every week. Be massive. It's not. He's not there. Yeah, yeah, I've got a feeling as well. I don't know. That's why I put the poll up at the start, because I had a funny feeling about Wolves today. Yeah, it's because United don't. So when you look at all of the teams, okay, and we repeat this week in, week out in the Premier League about no one having any leaders. There's no strength. There's no leaders in the team. Well, all those leaders have all gone and they're all playing in Saudi. All those pros that are, just a little bit older, that have, or a little bit, I don't know, older's probably, because some of them are quite young. They've all gone. And I think that's a huge, huge problem in the Premier League that no one's really even addressing. And I think why no one wants to talk about it again, because it's Saudi money. And no one wants to say a bad word about them. Oh, data wine. Does it wind you up? Well, it's one of those things. It doesn't wind me up. What annoys me is when they use data to prove a point that isn't a point, because that's the problem with data. You can make and say anything that you want. So you've got to be asking the right questions of that information so you can actually use that information correctly. I'll show you that next season when I start running my advanced technical analysis course from Barcelona. It's not your complete course. I promise. Yeah, so that'll be on the paid Patreon next season, boys. Starting in January, probably end of January, I'll start putting that up. But it is all how you use it. It doesn't matter how much information and data you've got. It is all in how you use it. They're on the bench right now looking at their laptops. Yeah. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Okay, what they need to do is score another goal. And what they really need is 3 strikers, not none. I mean, I feel sorry for that Xerxes lad. He's not a striker, and they've got him. And they're putting him in a situation. It's awful. Yeah, 100%. Look at the glass thing. Yeah. So if you've got real life experience and data, Now you're cooking. Now you can really look at it. Because, so say for instance, the front post flick on has more XG than any other corner. But why does the front post flick on happen? What's going wrong with the front post? What is it exactly that's creating that opportunity? Is it the delivery? Is it, the speed of the actual cross coming into the box? Because that's massive. We all know that. You whip a ball into the box with pace, and it's so much more different than it is if it's a little lofty ball in. So all of these things, you won't see that on XG. Sorry, actually you do. You can see that on the day. The speed and the driven of the pass. But you have to get into the guts of it to really pull it out. You get the magic round thing, and you kick it into the net box, and you get energy. It's brilliant. It's really simple. I don't know why anyone would want to make it hard. It'd be absolutely brilliant. Well, we are coming up to the hour mark, and I'm probably going to chip off, unless anyone's got any questions they want to ask before I go. I do want to, I'm going to try to do these more often. I'm only doing one a week, and I want to try to do them two times a week, just because in all my notes here, there's so much, and none of it's relevant because it's already gone past a couple of days, and everything's already moved on. And are we going to be watching Man United play Wolves? Is DC going to be in the... Oh, that's one of the other things, guys. Last couple of nights, always check out the Discord, because you'll find me in there quite often. We were chatting until 2, 3 in the morning. Was it? Yeah, something like that last night. And about 2 o'clock in the morning the night before. So we're always there and, floating around. You can always come in and have a bit of a chin wag. It's quite entertaining. Cash goes on little story rants. I retold my Tiger Woods story to someone in there the other day, didn't I? Shh. We keep quiet about that. And yeah, you can find out about all sorts of stuff that I've been involved in the sports world. But yeah, a lot of that as well is I don't put it online because I think I have to choose the sort of channel I want to be. And we were kind of talking about the community and how good the people are in this community for actual football knowledge. And it's very important to me because when you're finding your feet and you're doing your thing, because I'm a football coach, I'm a business guy, I don't perform in front of a camera. So this isn't what I do, and it's really difficult because it's so easy to go for likes and views and have 50,000 people because you've gone and tear out, Arnie Slot out, and you've jumped on some bandwagon for a week and pumped out hate video, because all it is hate content, and pumped it out, and that's not what I'm really about. Go. What is it, Steph? Up the Wolves? Have they scored again? Oh, you've put the bet on, haven't you? Jamesy, have you put the bet on? You have, haven't you? I shall wait for Steph's question before I disappear for the evening. We're all waiting in bated breath. What's taking you so long typing on your keyboard? Remember, word of the day, inverted sweeper. You might think it's a defensive midfielder, and they play the exact same way as a defensive midfielder, but it's really an inverted sweeper. Yeah. Oh, by the way, that's one of my other things in football. It's like, oh, here we go. Just goes back to the Forest 2 matches ago. I'll have to look 2 matches ago because I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. If you pop it in the match you're talking to and what you want to look at into the Patreon, I'll do a video for it in Patreon for you and actually break it down and what's going on. Because to be fair, there's I don't know, Forest's kind of strange attacking wise right now. I can't tell you what he's trying to do, and knowing Dyche, he's probably not. He's probably trying not just to concede goals, and he's not trying to put an attacking plan together yet. Oh, inverted manager. Ooh, that's not a bad one. Yeah. I'm going to come up with a new form. By the way, when they say these formations is a 3-2-1-4-4-1-1-1-1, That's because they don't understand the difference between shape and formation. The formation is like they're adding the shape into the numbers to make it look complicated. It's not. You're conflating formation and shape into the two things. It's complete nonsense. Like there's so much nonsense in football. It's amazing. Oh yeah. I don't think he's got an attacking plan. So to sort of say this is going to be his attacking structure, I genuinely think he just gets the ball forward and hopes they score a goal. I genuinely think that's what he'll do. Yeah, because that's what he's done everywhere else. I'll have to look. I'll have to try to watch. Who are they playing this weekend? Actually, what am I doing? What am I doing? I can look here. Saturday, Forest. Who are they playing? They're playing Sunday against Tottenham. That's going to be an interesting game. That's going to be 5-5. Well, it could be. Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting game. If you don't score against Tottenham, I'm going to be very sort of... there's some interesting games. Sunderland against Newcastle. That's going to be a decent game. Yeah. Dice has got what's called an inverted back four. So he's got two back fours played on top of each other. That's, yeah. Chelsea-Everton, that's going to be interesting. Liverpool-Brighton, it's at Anfield though, so I give Liverpool the edge. Burnley-Fulham, give Fulham the edge on that one. Arsenal-Wolves. If Wolves win this, I can see Arsenal will still beat Wolves, but I can see it being a tricky one for Arsenal for a bit. I've noticed as well, Man United keep getting these Monday night games, don't they? They're getting a whole like it's. You can win a league by scheduling, by the way. That is so important that you know that. If you get the right schedule, you can just accidentally win the league. That's one of those things with all these data analysis and all this other stuff that you never talk about. Palace, yeah, I was looking at the Palace v City game. Yeah. That's an interesting, yeah. That's at Palace, though. I kind of prefer Palace on the road. I want Palace at the Etihad, though. I think they'd do better. I don't think many people do well on a Monday night. It's a weird one. Weird one. West Ham Villa. If Villa win that, which they will, Arsenal can't afford to drop points with Wolves. They're going to be looking at that potential banana skin there, aren't they? They're going to be freaking right out. Absolutely right out. Well, it's weird, okay? So think of it this way. If you're going to play Man City or Arsenal, you'd want to play like a Newcastle or Aston Villa beforehand. If you're a contender team, okay? And you want them to play a Wolves or say like a West Ham, a bad team. So their work rate and work ethic is against the bad team. If they play two bad teams before they play you, you're going to beat them. If you play two good teams before you play them, you're going to beat them. So say like if you're the two teams going for the championship. And the reasons why is because if you play two tough teams, your team is used to playing in tough, gritty games. They go into it. If your team is playing slow, with no real threat football, they're used to playing slow, no real threat football. And when you come in on fire because you had to be to play these two tough games. They came in weak because they played two weaker games, and you will beat them in the head-to-head, pushing you forward to win the league. It's massively important. I can see them draw. Oh, I can't see them drawing, but if they don't win against Wolves, if there's a draw or a loss, watch the runners turn. Yeah. Oh yeah. Villa go top of the league. Arsenal will destroy itself. They'll just destroy themselves. Yeah, they don't have the they don't have the mental strength to just go it's just a bad couple of weeks. They'll just start screaming and yelling. But other than that, guys, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.